What up, our little honeydews, and welcome to Sippin' and Bitchin', where the drinks are icy and the book talk is spicy. And we got a little special episode for you. Who are your main bitches? I'm Sam.
And I'm Steph. You know, it's funny. You think that we wouldn't be talking about the Primal of Blood and Bone until June because that is when the book comes out, but you're wrong. You are so wrong. And today, November 1st, Jennifer, our beloved, has dropped the cover and an excerpt from chapter 1 of the new book, Primal of Blood and Bone, which is coming out June 10th, 2025. And we're excited, so we decided to drop a little bonus episode for your feeds and for your brains, because our brains are just broken, and y'all's can also be broken. I figured I would start by reading the excerpt, or not the excerpt, the blurb for the
I was
book.
about to say we're gonna read the whole excerpt. Damn.
All 16 pages. All right, book description. The Primal of Blood and Bone, a blood and ash novel, if you didn't know, fun fact. In the shadows and flames, primals will fall, and from the blood and ash, new gods will rise. In the thrilling penultimate chapter of the Blood and Ash series, please note, penultimate means next to last or almost last. So I think the next book is going to be Malik, however you pronounce his name, because I can never get them, whatever. So. In the thrilling penultimate chapter of the Blood and Ash series, Poppy and Castile face their most perilous challenges yet as old enemies rise and ancient powers stir from their slumber. Bound by love but driven by destiny, they must navigate a world on the brink of devastation, where every choice has deadly consequences. With their bond tested and their future hanging in the balance, the fate of the realm rests on the strength of their hearts and the power of the Dominion. Pretend we pronounced it correctly. Don't miss the final book starring your favorite maiden and her heartmate. And when I went to pre-order the book, I was looking at the different editions. There are multiple editions. They have an indigo paperback version, which is the only paperback version you'll be able to purchase. Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, which is the newer covers. There is a Books A Million autographed hardcover edition, which is the normal cover that was revealed. Yeah. And then Amazon has the hardcover as well, which is also the normal hardcover as well. And then I'm assuming indie books are going to get some variation in the ebook. So
the ebook looks like it's the same cover as the normal hardcover.
Yeah, so pre-ordered the Kindle version, pre-ordered the hardcover version. We'll see if there's a special personalized autograph version, but until then, I'm going to hold off. But Jennifer did announce in November of next year, consider we're in November of this year. I'm assuming she means next November, not this November. There is going to be a special edition paperback coming out with sprayed edges, embossed, glossed, flossed, and I don't know, I'm just saying a bunch of Ost words, coming out. But when I went to pre-order, I saw that the book was 640 pages, which is shorter than Born of Blood and Ash. Jennifer, what does it mean?
I'm really hoping they just put that there as a placeholder.
Sure. We'll see. So chapter 1 of the Primal Blood and Bone starts off with Castile's point of view, which I thought was, great, because obviously Poppy is still not awake.
Well, she's about to be.
Well, yes, so she's about to be. And so there's a bunch of rumbling going on, and Kieran's there with Cass, and shit's rumbling. Blood and bone symboling.
Yes, as there are fissures appearing, and an old Atlantean symbol, two symbols, a circle with a line cutting through it meant life, the one at the top meant death. Are appearing everywhere as ether is emanating.
They call it essence. I also noticed that they call it essence in From Blood and Ash and ether in Flesh and Fire, and I didn't really
like that. I mean, it's just how language changes as time goes on.
But I will say that the biggest thing that Cass is worried about is Poppy remembering everything, and I think that that's something really important, especially coming off of the last chapters of Born of Blood and Ash. Just kind of everything we know up to this point, it's just full circle. I think you're listening to that later, though. Next week.
Yeah. I love that how his importance is she will know herself, she will recognize us. I like that he puts like her knowing who she is first, and then her knowing them.
Yes, but which she is my inkling goes, which she will she know?
I think okay, so we're dropping this before the episode we recorded today, but I say this in the episode we recorded today that I think this is where she's gonna get most, if not all, of Satoria's memories back. I think this ascension will give her, because we get the normal thing later on in this chapter of her going through like what Sarah did, knowing like about the ancients and everything that happened and what brought them to where they are now and why there's balance and all that stuff. I think she's also going to get her memories back here. That's my theory.
Based off of Sarah's ascension, I think that's a safe theory to have. Just because it's a safe theory to have. And something that's noticed in this chapter too is they smell life, so as you know, lilacs, and then they also smell death, which is stale lilacs. And something I saw, I'm not going to take credit for it, but something that someone on Facebook posted was that in this it seems like Kieran gets like the life and Cass gets the death kind of signifier, and other people are also saying, and I don't know how true this is, and I guess that's why I'm going to bring it up, but are saying that Kieran and Cass are the new Ethos and Colas in terms of yin and yang, since they're like brothers, their relationship. Now that I'm thinking about it, the overlap, if you're looking at a Venn diagram, Poppy is the center, and then Kieran and Cass, and they overlap. So it's just, that's also not wrong. But I also, I am struggling because they're all connected, and I'm like, okay, what do we do? What do we think? Who's going to get what? I think when we are initially starting this conversation, we were like, who's going to get what? And I don't think we thought of, we thought of like the cool, oh, what are they going to get? But I don't think we thought of like the ramifications of each thing that they're going to get. So now it's like, oh shit. If he's like life and he's like death and she's just both at the same time,
it's very
stressed.
Yeah, trying to figure out how the balance is going to balance is very interesting, especially when you see this. Oh, you should have saw me reading the excerpts. Steph got to see me reading it, but it's very interesting because I was like, oh, is she gonna glow silver or is she gonna glow gold? She has silver with tints of gold in it. Like, it's combining the two. Like, it's silver and gold. Her eyes, there's no green in them. They're all silver. But what I'm interested in is, does Cass turn primal? That is my question. Because in some of the excerpts, you see some primal-esque things coming from him. But in this, the ether, like the essence, okay, they're using both now. The essence erupts from like Poppy, and it throws them both into the air.
Correct.
And they're just suspending there. And there's Castiel's going through this like weird, like power filling him moment.
That's my other thing though too, is like it's like they're surpassing an ascension but also being ascended, because they're like and I mean, this is the first time we're seeing it because the joining hasn't been a thing that we've seen in all of the Sarah and Nyktos books. Like, it's just not a thing that we see. So then it's like,
yeah.
I don't know. And he's getting like strength, like there is like a full metamorphosis happening with them.
Because he feels it in his chest and it goes like all around, and it's like silver shaded with gold and crimson. Raw burning pain, and he says the power flowing through me felt unending and inescapable, old, inevitable. I could sense it changing every part of my being. That was the source of the white hot pain, the essence shattering bones in one breath before rebuilding and fortifying them in the next. Like, I kind of wish we knew what was going on with Kieran right now, especially with him being woven.
I wonder if we get a Kieran POV. in this next book. I wonder if we get the triad kind of POV. But also at the end of Cass's POV, it says, "And then I saw the mist churning around my arms in a dizzying rush of shadows and crimson." So now we also get shadows mixed in, which is daddy, which we already. Oh no, the daddies are overweaving over.
We have a lot of daddies. Where is it about what it says about Kieran? 1 second. Showing every sense.
The power flinging Kieran to the opposite side.
No, right before it took my vision, I saw primal mist seeping from Kieran's outstretched arms, swirling gold and silver. Primal mist is coming from Kieran. Like, that's why I'm like, what's happening to him? Like, is he changing too? Is he a primal wolven? Like, what is that gonna look like?
Or is it just an extension of Poppy and they're them, but their protections from the joining are not elevated, but like upgraded. I'm gonna say upgraded because Poppy is now entering this new realm of being this primal of both. Oh, and then I read something. Sorry, everybody's theories are theorying, so I was like thinking about this. They say that one cannot exist that is both the primal of life and death. But if with this mentality, the power is distributed in theory. I don't not fact checked. In theory, the power is split between the three. So she's not carrying all that power. She's technically it's being distributed to the So
I could see that. I can go along with that wavelength. I can go along with that.
And then it's like the love. What do we say in the sorry, y'all are listening to this after we recorded the last episode that's not out yet. But then we were saying that love is the ultimate power that is more powerful than the ancients.
Yeah.
And there's 3 of them and they all love each other. I don't care. I know that we never defined the love between Kieran and Poppy, but we already know.
Oh, we know. Yeah. So we know that she is basically an ancient. She doesn't have just the power of a primal. She's the power of an ancient, because these two beings in one is what an ancient was, and that's why they split it up, because it was too much power.
Correct.
Which I agree with the distribution theory. Plus, she's part of the Muriel bloodline, which they don't, like, the power doesn't corrupt them, and I think that's what the problem with the ancients was, is the power corrupted. So, I feel like it's going to be more of an issue of the ancients awakening than it is about her having all this power. And then there's the whole cityscape and like the twinges of like the
I'm gonna read that because Jennifer posted something. Yeah, so Jennifer posted something on Facebook. Yeah, I'm gonna read what she posted before we get into Poppy's POV. So Jennifer posted in her Facebook group. If you're not a part of it, I highly recommend you join, because she responds, anyway. She says, tortures? I'm so glad. Also that I'm so glad you guys have finally seen the cover of the Primal of Blood and Bone. Blood and Bone. Yeah. Sorry, between the Pobab and the Boba, I'm just like, there are some pretty big Easter eggs on that cover. A few that may be obvious to some. Let's talk about the symbol. It should be familiar. You've seen variations of it before on the cover of Boba, all the way back to FBAA, from Blood and Ash and Born of Blood and Ash. The Dead Bones clan has been rocking a variation of it. It's not the Atlantean crest, it is the symbol of life and death, which you can see more clearly on the Indigo edition. A symbol in Old Atlantean, no, it was 2 symbols. The circle and the line through the center was life. The one from the top represented death. Life and death, blood and bone. Now what's inside of that symbol? If you think it looks like something and reminds you of a certain place, then you would be correct. Jennifer. But look above that, you do see something else that is a direct reference to another book. Now, if you're not quite sure why or how or what, there has been hints in the books. I can point you directly to what Sarah sees in her Ascension. If you're still like, what the fuck, I'm lost, that's okay. You'll understand when you read The Primal of Blood and Bone. Finally, the feathers. Have you ever wondered why the statues that guarded Deus had wings? Why the primals, some of them, do when they go primal? If you have read Born of Blood and Ash, you do see very briefly the source of those wings. The color is important. I'm going to, like, in between me and Sam somewhere, I think I'm going to line up the different covers so that you can see them. And then in the thumbnail, I will also put the cover. But based off of everything that we've seen, everything we've read, it is a direct correlation to the fall of Ruin and Wrath, which is a story connected with this universe. It is an ancient story. So we haven't read that book. That is next on our list that we are going to kind of, I don't know if we're going to deep dive it on the pod, but we're going to deep dive it in our brains so that, we can go crazy, but together. I love that for us. But the next part of this chapter goes into Poppy's POV, and she's like floating into nothingness, which I'm pretty sure there are a lot of parallels between Sarah's ascension and Poppy's ascension.
Correct.
She heard voices, his voice talking to me, telling me stories, so she's alluding to Cass, but she couldn't recall what she'd heard the voices telling her or what caused the agony or what she'd done, and she was kind of just drifting, no sensation. She was part of nothingness, and she stayed like that until a light flashed, sending out streaks of silver that pierced the darkness. A pinprick of sapphire blue appeared as the light faded, growing brighter. Bolts of stunning emerald spun from the center and twisted around the blue. Warm, rich brown followed, curling itself around the blue and green, and at the center of it all, there was the beginning of everything. So this is where, as you know from Sarah's ascension, you kind of get a history of the realms, essentially.
Right.
So it's, kind of going through their version of the Big Bang. Sorry, I just realized what I said. So sorry. Great winged creatures ruled to the west to the east, land separated by water, stars embedded themselves deep within the ground, all of this jazz. I heard their names whispered through the realms, through all time, gods, benevolent guardians, wrathful punishers, the watchers of man, elementals, the fair folk, fates, the first gods, the great creators, the ancient ones. And then she says, and I saw their wars. And then, I don't think we've ever heard this. 10 of the ancients, the dreamers, the protectors. I don't know if we've ever gotten like a number of ancients, period. So
we've never heard a number before.
That's something. And she says that those 10 ancients still dreamt. They saw what was coming, the beginning of the end. And I saw that the end started with its very own beginning, the birth of a young god born of 2 primals and ascended into primalhood, the true primal of life. Please note they are still not saying her name. That's something that they're not saying Sarah's name, and they're not saying Ethos's name for that matter.
Right.
His insatiable curiosity and thirst for life led to the first being. Oh, this is talking about Ethos. His insatiable curiosity and thirst for life led to the first being of duality, strengthening the truce between those who walk the land and the winged beasts who own the sky. But he didn't create them. This is very interesting, and it kind of ties into the last book. Essentially, he didn't create them the way that ancients did, but they're the first beings who got free will, and that led to choice, and from choice, emotion was born. The free will that had come from the winged beast was then passed on to the Draken, had been bestowed upon the mortal. Going through the history still. But she's really focusing, and I know she said this in the Zoom call we were on, she really focused on the concept of free will. Right. And like how emotion and all of that kind of just tied together, which I think she did a great job embodying that here. And then she repeats again, the 10 who dreamt also knew. And Poppy, in her internal dialogue, says, and I understood what the ancients could not, that when they saw the primals now unbalanced by emotion and decided to take back everything they created, they felt that too. As the primals rose and the ancients retreated into places of peace while others were sentenced to the ground, I understood what the 10 who dreamt only realized after it was too late. Everything done to prevent what was coming had only ensured it would. Can you tell me how mind-fucking that is? It's like they put everything into motion for it to end up exactly the way it was still supposed to end up. And as the essence flowed through me, I understood there must always be balance. Wild. But she also saw more. She saw the desperate king the 10 ancients had dreamed of with his crown of golden laurel leaves, and the man who had descended from that tiny babe the true primal of life had held in his hands. I saw it all, the great power that rose as heir to the land and skies, and she, the first chosen to fail, as the true primal of life. I also saw what the union of the bringer of life and the bringer of bone would unleash. 2 daughters, 2 kings, and the great conspirator. It was inevitable. The end would come. But I understood what was threaded into those dreams and existed in the whirling colors as they faded into the crimson streaked darkness. Every beginning had an end, but for every end there must be a new beginning. That was what the 10 had dreamt, the fall of ruin and wrath, and the rise of blood and bone. We really need to read that book, is the moral of this story.
We really do. I'm trying to think, okay, what does she mean? I'm looking at her excerpt still. When she says that, like, she's talking about a cityscape inside it, and she says, look above that, you do see something else that's a direct reference to another book. What is she talking about? The moon in it? Is she talking about...
I think that will be described in...
But she said that... Okay, so I went back.
The birds? I think she's talking about the hawks.
Maybe. Okay, so I went back and I found Sarah's ascension.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, she sees the pinpricks of light sparks that's... Wait. I cracked my eyes open. A pinprick of light appeared in the darkness, becoming a shade of swirling sapphire. Light sparked at its tail. An emerald shot out, wrapping itself around the blue. Rich brown followed, and then the 3 lights spun around a dark circle. That's weird. In the center, there was a past. The beginning of everything, and it started with a blast, an explosion that left small throbbing lights behind as the raw energy rippled out, kind of like what Poppy saw. Those small throbbing lights were stars, bright, brilliant stars, and after a time they failed to lands and no longer barren. And those stars buried themselves deep in the ground.
Ancients.
Soil sprouted from saplings, which grew strong trees that fed and was buried deep beneath. Stars that were fed and nurtured and grown from the roots. Yeah, it's the ancients. Their ever-changing eyes, full at the beginning.
Look above that.
Wait, crackling heat flooded my limbs as I heard the names they were called, both here and beyond, in unfamiliar lands full of towering cities and steel beasts. I'm trying to think what's above, like...
I think what we need to do is we need to read Ruin and Wrath and then see if something will click. Because they're clearly intertwined and we might be missing something, but she also says she explains it in the book. Like will be explained in the book. Now what's inside the symbol, if it looks like something, it reminds you of a certain place, then you would be correct. So that's Fall of Ruin and Wrath. But look above that, you do see something else that is directly referenced to another book. What other? I'm assuming another book in the series? My brain hurts.
I don't know. Like, is it... Let's see, that star that's around the city...
The wings are in Boba. There's a lot of... There's just so much information, Jennifer.
We're doing a reread, guys. There's a lot of Easter eggs, guys, and we're still trying to figure them out.
We're still dissecting it. So, obviously, we will keep you updated after we read Fall of Ruin and Wrath, and I think maybe it's worth doing another episode on it. Not like a deep dive, but like the connections between that book and Boba and Primal. Ugh,
crazy.
Anyway, we just wanted to kind of touch base and say we've seen the news, and it's hot.
There are pre-order incentives if you pre-order.
Yep, I will link that in our link tree, and then if you pre-order the book, you can get a bookmark and a temporary tattoo to start. I think that's what they got going on right now. So yeah, but that's all we wanted to share. SippinNBitchin on everything, and then we'll keep you updated on socials of what else we're gonna put out.
Thanks for coming to our little crazy fest.
True. But we'll catch you later, bitches.
Bye.